We are getting further into the football season now, and that means that we're getting a better idea of how every single player in the world is playing. That includes players at Leeds United, and I thought I'd do a little bit of a test, so I asked you to rate every single Leeds United player so far this season. Before I dive into it, you can get involved by checking out the Leeds United subreddit. After every single match, I will pop a form on there, and then I will post both on there and on here with the results. Hope you enjoy. It's something that I did for a few seasons a while ago, and I quite like doing it, but I ran out of time, so I'm giving it a go again. The first rating is always one that's quite controversial. It is the referee. And for this, I've done the season so far, so it's bound to average out a little bit. There were some stinky decisions, we have to admit, throughout the season so far, including the Joe Rodon red card that I think probably stole a few points from us. But at the end of the day, those aren't the biggest issues. The referees have sort of averaged out. They've been in our favour sometimes, against us sometimes. It's the EFL. They're never going to be very good. Now onto the specific Leeds United-y bits, and I'm going to go through everything in relative order, and at the end I'm just going to do some nice little awards for people who've done especially well or especially badly. First up, we have to go through the management of the club, and that includes absolutely everything, including backroom stuff and on the pitch stuff for Daniel Farke. And first up, transfer business got a 7.5. This was quite high, and in a good way, I think. Considering that we lost so many players to loans that were out of our control, the signings that we got in as replacements are significantly better. I've said a few times, and I've heard it said a few times on like Just Your Football Show and stuff like that, that this current squad would absolutely batter last season's side if they were to play each other, and I completely agree, and that is a testament to how good the signings were. One of the comments, because I put a nice little comment section on all the forms, said that the signings have been great, but the loan situation is a fucking joke. That is bleeped out there, because I know that YouTube will try and demonetize me if I keep it in, but I will try and get by with the words anyway. And it's correct. We would have been a lot better off if we would have got tens of millions of pounds in the summer by selling those players, but it's fine. It will add to a Premier League war chest as an alternative. Then we have to look at Daniel Farke's era so far, and he got an 8.62, and that is completely fair. We had a few stumbles early on, but I don't feel like they were his fault. There have been a couple of times where tactical decision-making's been a little bit suspect. I've thought, why don't we make substitutions earlier than this? But at the end of the day, he's the one that's trusted to run a football club, not me. The comments here said it's taken him some time to settle, and that's a completely understandable thing. When he's dealing with things like some players going on strike and stuff like that, 8.62 seems fair for third place in the league with two sides that are historically good. Then we have to get to the players themselves, and we're starting with the goalkeepers, one of whom did not have a very good start. He's just played a couple of times, but Carl Darlow, I feel, was signed maybe with the belief he'd get a lot of minutes, but he wasn't really looking good enough in the League Cup for it. By contrast, Darlow's 4.34 is compared to Mellier's almost 7. This will be biased a little bit because of the Leicester thing, and that was an absolute worldie. I've not seen many better saves, especially in the Championship. But people also noted that if we were to do this after Huddersfield, it would have been a bit lower, so I know that they've taken that into account as well. It's important to note that this is, and I specifically requested, covering the entire season so far. No one will be especially biased due to the Leicester match or the Huddersfield match or even the Southampton match. It should be a complete overarching view, and I think this is fair for Meslier. He's not been spectacular except when he's been asked to be. He's had the occasional mistake in him. It happens. He's been fairly standard for a goalkeeper, and I think 7 works. The ratings also pretty much discovered that our right-back issues have been amplified. Our best right-back at the moment isn't actually a right-back. It's Jamie Shackleton on a 6.52. I've put Gray in with the midfielders because he's played, I think, more matches in midfield than at right-back, so it just feels a little bit fairer to do it that way. But behind Shackleton, we have Luke Ayling at 4.19, and Cody Drame at 3.04. That's how much of a problem we have at the moment at right-back. There is not much depth at all yet. I did put a question in for Jed Spence, but then I figured he's only played about 10 minutes and then he was taken off. Drame played a couple of matches by comparison, and I've also got Hjelde in here, for example, purely because they've got more football under their belt. If Spence had played more, he'd be on this list. However, at the moment, our best rankings right back is Jamie Shackleton with that 6.52, just because he's fairly consistent there. He doesn't make visible mistakes. However, at centre back, we're looking a lot stronger. Joe Rodon with an 8.15 is one of our better players of the season so far, with Pascal Strout coming in at a 7.43. Charlie Crosswell and Liam Cooper are comfortably below, but that's understandable because they've not been getting minutes. People aren't going to rate them high if they're not getting into the squad, and that's completely fine. I feel like Crosswell has the ability to develop, and Cooper is still playing that leadership role, but on the pitch, we've not seen much from them. Another area where we're basically set for now is left back. Sam Byram is one of the better players in the squad with a strong 7.85, playing effectively out of position. He is functionally a right back. He's just played on the left every single time. And we don't know how he would compare to, say, Junior Firpo at this level. But within the players that have played at left back, Shackleton's played over there, but did okay-ish. Drame played over there for a match and was promptly thrown out on loan because he wasn't good enough. Byram is absolutely set as our left back at the moment until January if we consider getting someone in. Maybe Firpo lights the league up, who knows? But for now, Byram with a decent 7.85 is in there. Whilst that is certain, the midfield isn't. The midfield has decisions to make. Ampadu absolutely is the favourite in that position, with a 9.01, almost perfect. I'm going to have a quick look, actually, and see what the lowest rating for Ethan Ampadu was. Because, yeah, the lowest rating he got from anyone was a 7. And that includes the people who put 1 for everyone. They still put a 7 for Ethan Ampadu because he's been that good. People that put 1 for everyone, by the way, I just delete those. They're pretty much invalid. No one's been that bad. However, alongside Ampadu, you've got a bigger question. Archie Rowe with an 8.11 versus Glenn Kamara with a 7.79. They're right next to each other in the rankings. But that also means at the same time, you've got a big question. Do you play Gray at right back? Because that 8.11 is taking that into account as well. Do you play Kamara alongside Ampadu because of that? Or do you put Gray in midfield because that's what his normal position is? We've got big questions to ask, but I feel like Ilya Gruev isn't going to be a big part of that question. On a 5.53 at the moment, he won't get that many minutes unless players around him get injured because he's not quite at the standard of Kamara and Gray at the moment. Who knows? He might have some massive renaissance as we go into December and the matches stack up and we need depth, but we're not there quite yet. Another place where we'll need to do a little bit of rotation is in attack. But before we dive into the rotation options, there's a little bit of certainty on the wings. Well, I say the wings, across the front line. Joel Pirro with a 7.22 is strong enough. He's up there with some of the better players. Everyone, however, has said, and I think I had a nice little quote here, aside from Pirro has to be on penalties, there was a little bit of saying that Pirro just sort of disappears in some matches, which is absolutely true. We need him to show off a little bit more, get those finishes in. He could have scored against Leicester, and I feel like this number would be far higher, but it was telling of the fact that he had a chance. He didn't put it away, but he's a number 9. That's what he should do, especially when he's being compared to Bamford, who is rated, I'm sure you won't be surprised, significantly lower than this. Dan James with a 7.99 is completely unsurprising to me. He's been very consistent. He's put in a lot of effort every single time he's played, and I just like seeing him on the pitch. I'm just a Dan James fan. You all know this already. Then we get to the other options up front, and Crescencio Somerville and Jorginho Rutter are clear of James and Pirro by quite a margin. Somerville has been, I would say, one of the best wingers in the league so far this season, and although people say that he isn't a 10, I'd say Rutter has been the best 10 in the division. If we want to call him a 9, I'll call him the best number 9 in the division. I think he's the best player that there is at the moment, and the ratings reflect it. Everyone absolutely loves Rutter. I'm a little bit curious as to what his lowest rating was. I can also see a 7. So, yeah, 7, but a few more 10s, a few more 9s, because he's just very good, isn't he? He shouldn't be playing in the Championship. Don't tell him that. He'll want to move. But around those attackers, there's a little bit more disappointment going on. Patrick Bamford with a 3.81 isn't good. Gelhardt is only slightly ahead, and I feel like that's because he's been less exposed to game time. Nonto has a 5.84, which is not ideal for someone that we desperately fought to keep during the summer, although the strike thing might have hurt his rating in that sense. And Poveda only has a 4.52. Poveda's come on when we've desperately needed something in attack, though, so it's easy to see why that rating takes a hit. primarily because when he is brought on, we desperately need a goal, but they're already sitting in, so he's just playing against two banks of four. Nonto, however, he's not shown that shine that Somerville has, and I feel like although 5.84 feels low, it's fair compared to his expectations. Now we've gone through almost all of the players, we need to dive into our mid-season awards. I didn't cover every single player because there's a lot of them, but the other ones are just fairly average-ish or haven't played much. There was also, I thought, putting Sinisterra in there, but I feel like if we want to set a record low, I'll just whack him in a future poll. Our signing of the season so far by a hefty margin is Ethan Ampadu with a 9.01. I would have thought Joe Rodon would have been in that conversation, and he was, but no one except Ampadu and Rutter cracked that 9, which shows just how much of an impact he's had. He wins the ball in midfield, he recycles the ball effectively, he doesn't lose it, he creates chances. All he needs is a goal, and then he's the most complete midfielder we have. But we have a fun fact for that, in which Ampadu has never scored a goal in the league. He's only ever scored in the playoffs. Do not make him play in the playoffs, because I might have a heart attack. Aside from that, we have the lowest rated player in the entire squad, and that is Cody Drame. You can see why. He played twice and was promptly bombed off to Birmingham. Doubt he'll get his contract renewed, and although there could be a fee if we do renew it, I can see him not wanting to because he can just move on. It never worked for him at Leeds United. It was fine at Luton, it's fine at Birmingham, but if it doesn't click, it doesn't click. And that's fine. Then we get to the player of the season so far. Obviously, Jorginho Rutter. He's created more big chances than some clubs have. He just makes a difference every single time he's on the pitch. He's so clever with his feet. I keep seeing the weird athletic article popping up saying that the best attackers always use their arse. And he just fends people off using his weird gangly body, and it works every single time. Add more goals to his game, and he will be the most complete player in the Championship, without a doubt. But yeah, that covers basically everything. So I did ask you to rate every single Leeds United player. That's what we got. Pop in the comments down below if you agree, if you disagree. These aren't my opinions, keep in mind. You're arguing with each other. Like the video as well and subscribe. Also pop over to the subreddit because getting involved with these polls is going to be great and it's going to keep me doing it throughout the season. Hope you enjoyed, and I will see you next time.